And it's BBOR Black Box Online Radio, coming to you from West Virginia at heart and from around the globe. And hello, everybody, and welcome to the first Black Box Online Radio State of the Union address. This is an idea that I got from the channel Play with Fire that did their own State of the Union address because really it's an opportunity to reach out and connect with the fans and find out what type of content do you guys want to hear about, as well as talking to you about some of the updates that are going to happen with Black Box Online Radio in the near future. And Charlie is here. Firstly, hello, Charlie. Welcome to the first Black Box Online Radio State of the Union address. My name is Black Box Ned Dahan, and DNA King is here. Hey, DNA King, how's it going? This is going to be a chance for me to talk to you guys about some upcoming things with Black Box Online Radio. Now, I do work off of the internet, but I'm still changing things around with some schedules. And there are going to be some episodes that are going to be coming out a little bit more frequently on BBOR. And I told you guys in the past that I've always liked the concept of putting out different types of episodes every week. I tried some things in the past, but I was just never able to do so because of the time. And one channel did 21 uploads a week, and every day a short, every day a long form content piece like a live stream, and medium form content, episodes of 5 to 20 minutes. And I really wanted to try that in 2023, but there were some technical issues that were going on. I was living in the Philippines at the time, and it was rather difficult to record there. So I went back to the Philippines in 2020, well, yes, 2023, 2024, and I made some improvements to the way that I could record so I could put content out more regularly, and I did the interview series. But that model has always fascinated me. The concept of putting out just the three forms of content: short form, medium form, long form, creating something for everybody. Andrew WVA is here. Hello, Andrew. How's it going? And I'm going to try my best. Now, I am going to be recording and sending stuff out from Asia, so it's not going to be guaranteed that there will be different episodes coming out every day, but I'm going to try. And it's also not necessarily going to be 21 episodes. I even think that that's pushing it. And again, once you respond to issues offline, sometimes it's just there isn't enough time to do that. But I'm going to aim for 15. And you guys are listening to True Crime Talk Radio in the morning right now with Black Box Ned. That is something that I'm hoping to make a regular staple of Black Box Online Radio. True Crime Talk Radio in the morning is going to be coming out on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Now, I haven't finalized the time, but I think this thing right here, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, is going to be somewhat reasonable for people because I know there are individuals out on the West Coast who are not able to wake up early enough to listen at like 6 o'clock in the morning. But Eastern time is wonderful. You know, coming from West Virginia, I always found that you're just kind of in the center of everything, like you're the epicenter of planet Earth, so to speak. You can blame the Washington, New York, London connection for that. Stock market and the White House or something too close together. And yeah, Charlie is just asking, you're going to do Tuesday and Thursday live? Yes, True Crime Talk Radio in the morning will be coming out on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Knock on wood, enriched with possibility. And I'm going to try my best. You know, when you're dealing with things in Asia, you're going to encounter weather conditions and blackouts. By weather conditions, I mean stuff like typhoons. Those are going to be happening rather frequently. And I just also want to talk to you guys about the content that's going to be going into these episodes, because most people on this channel are big fans of unsolved mysteries. Unsolved mysteries such as the Zodiac Killer, Jack the Ripper, DB Cooper. And I really wanted to find a way that I can talk to you guys regularly about these subjects without going over the same points over and over again. And I think that the antidote to that is going to be criminal psychology, forensics, looking at what different investigators think and connecting it to the Zodiac, Jack the Ripper, and DB Cooper, especially the Zodiac Killer mystery, because I think it was a very good episode when I did the one where I was talking about Pat Brown's book, Killing for Sport, as well as about the book I, The Creation of a Serial Killer by Jack Olson. And Batman66 is here saying, Viva el Nedo. Muchas gracias, senor. Anytime, Batman66, and I thank you for all your contributions to the channel. But, I mean, like, there are so many books out there about forensics that I would like to go through, as well as criminal psychology, like the John Douglas books, perhaps. and discussing those on True Crime Talk Radio, because it doesn't have to be purely focused about the Zodiac or about Jack the Ripper or DB Cooper. And I can connect those different stories as well as other cases to just a general book on forensics. So please look out for some of those things in the near future. And you can hit the like button and subscribe if you're not a subscriber to BBOR. It really helps out the channel. And of course, visit some of the links in the description box to anyone who's listening to this later once I put them in there. But as far as putting out the regular lineup, there's still going to be Zodiac Monday, there's still going to be Ripper Wednesday, and there's still going to be Cooper Friday, talking about the Zodiac Killer, Jack the Ripper, and DB Cooper. Now, Ripper Wednesday might not be the most popular segment here on Black Box Online Radio, but I think that it's going very strongly. I think that that is one that I am reasonably pleased with, not 100% because there's always room for improvement, right? But I like the direction of Ripper Wednesday. And I think that so far it's going pretty well. And a big difference between the Jack the Ripper case and the Zodiac Killer mystery is that there is so much more to explore. More material, more books have been written, as well as just different theories that are out there and pieces of fiction that have been written involving not only the Ripper, but also the Ripper victims. And there is just a world of information to go through with Jack the Ripper. So Ripper Wednesday is going very strongly. And I can't thank you guys enough for tuning in to Cooper Friday. As many of you know, for years on Fridays, I did the Anything Goes Friday segment, where any subject was fair game, any subject under the sun or in the darkness. But I had to retire that segment because I realized that the audience of Black Box Online Radio was mostly connecting to unsolved mysteries as opposed to content that has been solved, or maybe just the evaluations of a trial, like when I did the episode on the Menendez brothers. And I really had to make that decision. And also, I was fascinated with DB Cooper as well. I remember thinking about that when I first launched Ripper Wednesday, that, okay, I'm getting into Jack the Ripper, but at the same time, I'm getting into DB Cooper. And at the time, my work schedule didn't permit me to do both Cooper Friday or to do a fourth day of recording, like to give up the Anything Goes Friday segment and do Cooper Friday. I could have done that, but I wasn't prepared to do it at the time. And I wasn't prepared to do 4 days at the time. So ultimately, I was just like, wow, I really want to do more with the DB Cooper story. And that ultimately is what happened with Cooper Friday. So again, I really thank everyone who has listened to those episodes, especially the one on the murder of Philip Rackstraw. That one received a lot of viewership. And we have Opera Spia here, who says, "Hey Ned, thanks for your dedication. The amount of quality content you put out is impressive and much appreciated." Thank you so much for tuning into True Crime Talk Radio in the morning. And I thank you for the kind words. Now, as far as the creation of mid-form content goes, like about making episodes that are 5 to 20 minutes long, again, I tried that in the past, back in 2023, and it just didn't happen. I was expecting to talk for 5 minutes, and I would talk for 25 minutes because I'm just somebody that rambles along. This is what I'm expecting to do. And I just keep talking and talking and talking and going on and on and on. And that felt like me. And I think the honest answer is I finally had to sit down and admit that I'm going to be writing out this content. I'm going to be scripting the episodes. And on Black Box Online Radio, I almost never read from a script unless I'm quoting somebody's article or something like that. But I started doing it with the YouTube shorts. And I think that they've been reasonably well received. I mean, of course, nothing is perfect. You always want more, right? But I was imagining just making somewhat of a larger form of content like that, maybe episodes of 3 to 5 minutes that would exist on YouTube in a different way, because the shorts on YouTube have their own feed, and the ones that are coming out on as videos, they are shared in a different way. Those mostly go to the subscribers, whereas the shorts are just kind of broadcast out to everybody. So I'm going to be writing out scripts for things, and there will be content that is not exclusively about the Zodiac Killer. Like even Batman66 says, your Zodiac episodes seem to be your most popular. Yes, and some people listen to this channel only for the Zodiac content, and that's fine. You can do that. If you just want to tune into Zodiac Monday, you're welcome to do so. But for the mid-form content, I'm going to be talking about different stories. I'll try to keep things in line with Monday. I always have a video about the Zodiac, and Ripper Wednesday will have a smaller video about the Ripper, and then Cooper Friday will have a smaller video about Cooper. And maybe on the other days, I'll be talking about some other cases out there, such as Madeline McCann, JonBenet Ramsey, the Black Dahlia, the Long Island serial killer mystery, which is still going through the investigations. And Batman66, thank you so much for your regular and consistent support. That's doing a world of good for Black Box Online Radio. Charlie Don't Serve says, I love it all. Nice you're mixing it up. Right, and just blending in more types of content. And please look out for a lot of discussions on just forensics and investigations, as well as perhaps some of the older content that I've done, like maybe a book discussion that took 1 hour to do. I might condense those down into 3 or 4 minutes, because I was watching the channel Bulldog Mindset, which is something that I used to do a lot in the past, and there was this one guy on there who was a guest, and he said one thing that he does as a YouTube editor is he can take a 30-minute video and condense it down into 6 minutes. And I was like, wow, that really is something that is, a challenge. But I've been thinking about that over the last 12 months about how I would do that with some of my bigger book discussions, really just pulling out the strong points and putting them into a 3 to 5 minute episode. Very basic things. And Bulldog Mindset was also the channel that encouraged me to create scripted content, because I used to follow that channel for years, and the host would just get in front of the camera like me, like I am now, and just talk. And then he decided one day that, okay, he wanted to make scripted content, as well as altering things with the lighting and trying to make things look as nice as he could. And strangely, that channel asked me to unsubscribe. It was something like, if you don't watch our videos daily, please unsubscribe, because they wanted to do things with the algorithm. And I was just like, thanks for everything, but it was nice to know I don't watch your videos daily, but I did in the past. They had reasons for doing that, but the point is that there are influences that have encouraged me to approach YouTube in a different way, and there will be more content coming out on Black Box Online Radio, a wider range of content. But because this is the State of the Union address for Black Box Online Radio, I want to share some things with you guys in the live chat, and that is that the ratings for BBOR are just going up and up, and this is at an all-time high. And I think a lot of it is because of the shorts. And Batman66, I really appreciate everything that you've done to help with the YouTube shorts. Then, that just gets a whole different type of audience. But I think adding mid-form content is really going to also expand Black Box Online Radio in a different way. So then, again, it made so much sense. If everybody would have something, the people who want to hear long videos like Zodiac Monday or something, then the people who just want to kind of like tune into true crime for a little bit and maybe just get the bullet points of a story in 3 to 5 minutes, and then the shorts or an even smaller version of that. But I had to make the ultimate determination that the scripted content really doesn't look so bad once I got the hang of it. Once I developed that mindset of, okay, this is how I'm going to write out and plan a shorter episode that is going to be scripted. And Charlie Don't Serve says Manson. Oh, yes, Charlie, I am so glad that you mentioned that. I think that some of you guys are very creative, right? Because I know a lot of people who follow the show are writers and thinkers, and you have your own ideas about things. And I have interacted with you guys a lot in the comments section, and some of you are very creative types. And do you know what it's like being a creative type? You'll just be sitting there, and all of a sudden, it hits you like a lightning bolt, and you get an idea for something. And one time, back in the exploratory phases of creating scripted content, it just hit me once. And I was thinking, you know what? I talk a lot about the Zodiac killer, the Black Dahlia, Charles Manson. All of these crimes took place in California. And this is something that I'm still contemplating and toying with, and maybe I'll do it in the future. And that is that I wanted to create a series called something like Evil California, California After Dark, Nightfall in the Golden State, or something like that. And it actually stems from a joke that I made on Black Box Online Radio back in 2020 when I began to think, I'm talking about all these stories, the Zodiac, Manson, the Black Dahlia, Secrets of the California Global Elites and Bohemian Grove and all that. And I was like, what is up with this channel? Is this just the shitting on California channel now? But wait, I began to think, what if I could do that in a more reasonable way and actually look at these unsolved mysteries from California from like the 1930s to the 1960s. As a historian once told me, pick your 10 years that you want to specialize on. How about 30? Maybe in 40 years, going to the 1970s. Creepy California, says Batman 66. Now you got it. See, that is so much better than Cali After Dark because Cali After Dark sounded way too Valley Girl, and Evil California sounded too like lame and such. Creepy California, much better. And the Manson family, of course, did their creepy crawls and such. But that would be something that would be scripted content, as well as things that would come out maybe like definitely at least once a week or once a month, not a daily segment. By once a month, I mean really putting an enormous amount of time into the creation of the episode so that it would be something that was reasonably high quality. And I'm kind of past the point where I'm just going to put out stuff where there is just kind of me rambling and there are going to be these like images that aren't lining up. And okay, I'm not past that point at all. I absolutely love making content like that because, well, I just love the free flowing dialogue. I love the discussions and I love it being about the ideas as opposed to being the overly flashy production. Well, why not do both? If I have the time and the effort and the ability to do both, I'm going to do both. So there's just going to be the stuff where I'm just going to be rambling on in front of the camera like this. I told you, True Crime Talk Radio in the morning, coming to you every Tuesday and Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Whatever time that is in Asia, I don't know. Pound that coffee down, folks. But Charlie Don't Surf says yes. I was literally just talking about that 30 minutes ago. You mean the creepy crawls that were done by Manson? We were naming all of the serial killers from California. Oh, you mean like about how there are so many things? Well, see, if I were to concentrate only on the decades that I talked about, the 30s to the 70s, I would miss out on a lot of activities, like a lot of stories, such as the Golden State Killer. The Golden State Killer began operating in the 1970s, and to the best of our knowledge, he committed his first crime in 1974. Some say 1973. And then there are the people out there who think that the Golden State Killer was the Zodiac Killer, and he began operating in the 1960s. But then he actually just kept on murdering people all the way up. But the most important part is no matter what you think about the Golden State Killer's reign of terror, he was captured in the new millennium. Joseph D'Angelo was identified, and it was a monumental discovery for forensics because we're talking about one of the most revolutionary cases, if not the most revolutionary case, in relation to genetic genealogy. This has just brought down all kinds of barriers because one of the programs that I used to follow was called Case Cracked on the Lord and Arth channel, and it's hosted by John Lorden and Christy Arnhart. And they even just said that they had to retire this segment on the Lord and Arch channel because they're looking at all of these cases and they're talking about how cases were cracked, how cases were solved. And it was all the same result: genetic genealogy, genetic genealogy, genetic genealogy. Amazing, fascinating stuff. And, Batman 66 says Washington 2 was a mecca for serial killers. You must mean Washington State because of, the whole issues on the West Coast and transportation areas and just people being cut off from civilization. Washington, D.C., of course, was a very big site for shootings. And my part of West Virginia, where I grew up, is very close to D.C. I would spend a lot of long weekends in Washington, D.C., and all we heard about were the stories of gun violence, and that's a completely different side of the homicide issue. And Charlie says he was talking about all of the murders in California and naming them off, and we brought up Bundy and Washington State. Yeah, see, Ted Bundy, that's just another case where, I mean, he is like a nationwide serial killer. Everything about serial killers gets connected back to Ted Bundy in some ways because he's one of the most widely discussed serial killers out there. And yeah, he could fall into some type of creepy California or Cali After Dark segment. But again, that would be something that I really have to put a lot of time into. Now, as many of you know, we have seen something very sad in the world of true crime, and that is the end of the Zodiac Killer channel. When I first got the news that the Zodiac Killer channel was shutting down, I was like, hey, that sucks. That's too bad. Just something very casual like that. But right now, after a couple weeks, I'm just thinking, damn, I miss the Zodiac Killer channel. And the reason why is hours and hours of content is just gone. Not only the three-part documentary series Obsession into Darkness, but also the interview with the experts series. And I did reach out to the owner of the Zodiac Killer channel and said, okay, now if you just want to retire from YouTube, would you give me the files that I can put out on my own channel, or maybe even make some type of, I would have gladly made a Zodiac Killer re-upload channel if, you don't want me to have like royalties or something from it. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you just don't want to do anything with the content, but even if that was a condition, I'd be like, yeah, absolutely. Let's just put it out online. I mean, it would be like a revival for the series, which was made almost entirely of 2021. One episode was recorded in 2022, and that was the interview that we did with Druzer, and the final one was recorded in 2023, and that was the interview with me, either around 2023, 2024, around like that time. But other than that, the Zodiac Killer channel really has not put out so much, and that was a channel that really focused on quality over quantity, and they had a lot of good things that were over there. But yeah, I miss those things so much, and by missing them, I mean I just genuinely feel down that they're not online because a lot of people were very receptive to the interviews. But the whole reason that I'm talking to you about the Zodiac Killer channel is, in one of the episodes, I said that I was going to be working more behind the scenes on YouTube, and I was working with a couple different projects, and one of them was going to be a channel about psychology, and it was all going to be part of a company that I'm hopefully going to launch called Switchforce Media. That's going to be about YouTube content as well as other things, but of course, primarily focusing on YouTube content. And I had this plan for a psychology channel, starting from the ground up, and I made the channel, and almost instantly YouTube shut it down. I made like a Google account, the channel. I even made a BuyMeACoffee page specifically for that channel, and all of it got shut down. They said, "We don't think you're a real person. Your Google account has been terminated." You wrote an email to someone whom you don't think is a real person? Was it the movie Short Circuit or something like that? I mean, anyway, that's the message that I received. I guess apparently I'm not human enough for planet Earth or something. Never too late to become a cyborg, I suppose. But the whole point is that channel got shut down. I just had to go back to the drawing board a little bit, and I still had AstroPsych 400. There were actually two channels that were connected to the Gmail account for AstroPsych 400. One of them was completely blank, and I was like, okay, well, I'll just use that. So I tried to get on the channel. That one was also shut down. So then I just decided that I was going to keep putting out content on AstroPsych 400, which was my secondary YouTube channel. And I did 3 episodes for a series called Persuasion Classics, which again is talking about psychology and about how people can use persuasion tactics to be convincing, even though they are not dealing with facts. Absolutely not related to true crime. So that's why that stuff isn't over here in Black Box Online Radio. And I started doing that one when I was in America, or for a brief time this year, back in West Virginia, of course. And, very good numbers comparatively speaking. Actually, I had my highest viewed episode over on AstroPsych 400 because of that series Persuasion Classics. I'm going to try to get back to that too. Maybe that can be the Saturday show. And still, I am going to be working with some other things. And I really want to put more time into YouTube. And I just want to focus on this. And I want this to be my biggest focus. And as I've talked to you guys about before on the channel, one of the reasons why I run Black Box Online Radio is I used to host a program called UC Online Radio. That was back in 2011. And there was a YouTube channel that was made for that, made for UC Online Radio. And I didn't own it, but I created all of the content. So it was still up there. And I wrote to the owner of the account and I just asked, do I have permission to use that from now on? And the owner said yes. And I was even going to buy the channel from that person. But ultimately, I decided to just ask if I could have it. And that person said yes. So, I mean, I got that channel back. And once a week, I would like to do something as well. Once a week and once a month, once every 2 weeks if I don't want to push things too much. But I really do want to just be like one of those people who just wants to completely separate, okay, this is my life offline and this is my life online, and put time into life on the internet. I'll share some more things about that. I'm going to rebrand everything, brand new name and such. But just there's another channel that I'm going to do something with. And we have Batman66 saying, "What do you think about those pictures of Sherry Joe Bates being stalked? Do you mean stalked? Stalked? STOCKED? How do you mean?" Julian says, "Hey Ned, love the content. Do you agree with John Douglas that the Zodiac must have lived close to the Stein murder? I personally feel like he was right on a lot of points." John Douglas knows a lot more about profiling than I perhaps ever will. John Douglas is one of the biggest names in psychological profiling, but I have never liked the idea that the Zodiac killer lived near the Stein murder scene. I just always thought it was a cop out or an easy explanation as to how and why the Zodiac didn't get caught committing the crime in his own backyard. Everything else about the Zodiac killer shows that he was a little bit more methodical and calculating than that. And I have to give credit to QCS, Queen City Stripes, who proposed a different theory. And this is something that's rather interesting about how the Zodiac might have chosen the murder in Presidio Heights and done this because he wanted to get on the bridge and drive across it going towards Sausalito, California. It's actually rather close proximity when QCS pulled up the map, and I did an episode once, and you can see it says news suspect in the thumbnail for one of the Zodiac killer news reports, and it's actually talking about the news suspect Donald L. Blinko. Donald L. Blinko lived in Sausalito, California, which would have been right across the bridge, and that makes a little bit more sense. I mean, someone is not committing the murder in their backyard, but near a getaway point. Also, I have to give a shout out to Dennis D, who was the one who kind of did some analyses on the Zodiac's walking path after the Stein murder. He actually proposed that the Zodiac didn't enter one of the houses. He moved into the shadows and was hiding in the alcoves that were up there. And he actually says law enforcement theoretically could have walked past him twice, or maybe this is a direct quote, should have walked past him twice. So that doesn't mean he went into a house. That means that he's just hiding, kind of like back against the wall. And in my own curiosity, one thing that I've thought about is, did the Zodiac killer change a disguise there? Because so many people have said, if the Zodiac actually got into a car and drove away, he could have been spotted. I mean, more witnesses. He could have been stopped by some police officers if they knew that a murder was in the area. A roadblock could have been set up. Did he do something to alter his appearance? Take off the glasses, put on a wig or a hat or something like that, a fake beard? Not really fake beard. That's too wacky, but I'm talking about a very simple disguise that would have fooled people. And that's what he was doing in those alcoves. Either that or just changing his clothes, because a lot of people think about this, and I don't think this is a crazy thing at all. The Zodiac committed the Lake Berryessa stabbing wearing a hooded costume. Underneath the hooded costume was a navy blue windbreaker, possibly a black windbreaker, but I think it was perhaps navy blue or dark blue. And I was thinking, a windbreaker, you can just crumple that up and put it into your pocket, or you could have passed the Lake Berryessa hood off as a bag. And then, there's so many things that the Zodiac could have done, but I don't necessarily think it's certain that the Zodiac could have, or it was required that the Zodiac had to have lived nearby the Stein murder. It seems like he's somebody who knew how to disguise his appearance. That's why I brought up Lake Berryessa. And Batman66 says, what he meant stalked. You mean Sherry Joe Bates was stalked? And I know I watched that clip briefly for a couple seconds, but I really have to get a refresher on that before I can truly comment. However, I wouldn't be surprised at all if she had a stalker. I mean, it even sounded like there were two possibilities with Sherry Joe Bates, who was murdered in 1966. Number one, she had a stalker, or number two, she might have had something going on with her ex-boyfriend, Bob Barnett. And that doesn't mean that he killed her, because he seems like a very reasonable suspect, the ex-boyfriend, but aside from that, did he actually commit the murder? And he didn't seem like he had 100% of an alibi. It's just he went to work later that night. And Julian says amazing point that is incredibly interesting about the Stein murder. I mean, it's just my take on the subject, but who would I be to talk down to somebody like John Douglas? And yes, as I said, I have a couple of his books on the reading list that I'm hopefully going to be talking to you guys about on True Crime Talk Radio in the morning, and even some interviews that I would do with people. Hey, Mr. JSV is here. Mr. JSV 650. Hello, Ned and crew. Hello, Mr. JSV. Welcome to True Crime Talk Radio in the morning, the first ever Black Box Online Radio State of the Union address. And I've just been talking about some updates with the channel, and one of the things though that I do want to do is to just kind of go through some of the older Black Box recordings and pull out some of the bigger ideas. And you know how I was saying at the beginning of this live stream that there was that guy who said you can condense a 30-minute episode down into 6 minutes? I don't regret my time making Black Box recordings at all for this channel. However, I am forced to admit that they really are highly repetitive, and a lot of the time I'm repeating myself over and over again. I was repeating myself over and over again. And also, now that I have the ability to listen back to it 4 years later, I can be like, okay, these are the big points. I would just pull these out and not even necessarily use them in a medium form content video, but how about talk about them here on True Crime Talk Radio? I mean, how about inserting them into the long form content? Be like, I read this book 4 years ago. These are the main points. 3 minutes later, I read this book as well. These are the main points. One of the saddening things that I have found since I have started doing the YouTube shorts is something that I was fully aware of, that you are fully aware of, and that is that there's just so many serial killers and murderers out there that it really is sickening. It's sickening and disgusting. And, like all the stories that I hear about on Black Box, that I talk about on Black Box Online Radio, just when I hear about them, it's like, what is wrong with humanity? Well, as somebody once said, we live in a world of power, not a world of virtue. And I think that there is some truth to that, because people want to dominate. And some of the things that I hope to explore more on True Crime Talk Radio in the morning would be, how does a serial killer think? And I often quote Inspector Mark Rowley from the Madeleine McCann case. You shouldn't put your mind into that of the perpetrator, because if you are a sane person, that person might be insane. And somebody also once said that it's impractical to try and unravel the thinking of a madman. And I'm sort of just like, I'll do it anyway. Yeah, bring it on. You want to have psychosis, square up. I'm ready for some of that, And after making several thousand episodes or whatever it is for Black Box Online Radio, it really appears to me that serial killers, mass shooters, and similar types of criminals are trying to dominate people, knowing fully well that they are in the wrong, that they understand that their actions are illegal. They understand that there are going to be very, very heinous consequences, and they know that they should not be doing this, but they are choosing to do it anyway because of either a selfish reason, but selfish isn't the right word. Sometimes it's revenge. Like earlier today, I was talking about David Meyerhofer. He was a revenge killer because he believed that what was done to him justified taking somebody else's life. And it's not purely done out of rage. It's also done about some people think that they are trying to teach somebody a lesson. That's what Pat Brown was writing about in the book, Killing for Sport. But it goes beyond rage. It goes beyond teaching people a lesson. Some people just think that somebody did something mean to them. Now they want to hurt them even worse because they're like, I don't like you. You've betrayed me in some type of way. Therefore, I want to murder you. And it's not only serial killers and mass shooters. Countless episodes of Forensic Files in 48 Hours have been made about this. I've noticed, though, that 48 Hours, though, was a program that I followed a lot in 2019, 2020, mostly because of the 48 Hours podcast was available on radio.com. And what they would share is just that their stories were about usually like a lover, like a man and a woman, and one of them dies under a suspicious circumstance. Suspicious circumstance. There, I got it out that time. And what happened? Now, why would somebody murder their partner? Why would somebody murder their loved one? And just exploring those types of questions. But I've really noticed that a lot of people in the Black Box Online Radio audience aren't necessarily intrigued by that type of true crime psychology. And this is something, though, that I also want to be, upfront about. I've noticed that that stuff's extremely fascinating to me, but for the Black Box Online Radio audience, there's a different type of true crime follower out there. And that's not the person who's like, okay, well, there's this suspicious death that happened. What were the people doing? What were they thinking when they did it? Why would people make these types of choices? Like, how would you analyze this person's type of behavior? That's one type of true crime follower. The other type of true crime follower is more to the effect of, okay, these are the clues that point toward the killer. These are the clues that suggest that this person might be guilty of either being a serial killer or perhaps something like DB Cooper, where, to the best of our knowledge, DB Cooper didn't murder anyone. So we say now, but DB Cooper could have been Robert Rackstraw, who murdered his stepfather in 1978. And now, can I ask you guys, you're listening to the Black Box Online Radio State of the Union address right now. One thing that I have casually said from time to time on BBOR is, this person gets the award for the comment of the week. Do you think I should make that a regular segment, like maybe on Zodiac Monday or something? I'll do the supporter shout outs and be like, and now for the award for the comment of the week, it's going to go to so-and-so. And, about, let's say a week and a half ago, somebody wrote into the channel about DB Cooper. And what they said was that they thought that the DB Cooper suspect, Robert Rackstraw, gets about a 5 out of 10 for being DB Cooper. Like average, but not like a 1 out of 10 or something like that, like extremely low. But the DB Cooper suspect, Robert Rackstraw, the suspect of the case breakers, gets an 8 out of 10 for murdering his stepfather. And one of the things that, I just told you my response. You get the award for the comment of the week. Yes. DB Cooper, maybe, but probably not. Probably not. Murdering his stepfather, maybe, but probably yes. Probably yes. And there's just this mountain of evidence that would indicate that Robert Rackstraw murdered his stepfather, Philip Rackstraw, in 1978. And Andrew says the comment of the week would be a nice addition. Sounds like a nice addition. If we're talking about something that's going to be like 30 seconds, it's just, I've done it a few times. It's just, there's never been any type of special notification for something like that. And I think that it goes to show that you guys in the comment section contribute so much to Black Box Online Radio, because just last Monday on Zodiac Monday, I was talking about like a Q&A session. I was responding to things that you guys had written out. And I've always said that that's why this channel exists, because I can interact with you. You guys can write the stuff out. Somebody just asked me a question about the Zodiac killer. We're talking about the Golden State Killer, and we can share ideas. This channel would not exist without you wonderful people in the audience. And I'm not just saying that. I genuinely mean that. I thank you so much. But as far as, like incorporating things into the episodes, there are different questions that I get asked. And some of them are like, number one, frequently on Zodiac Monday, you call it the Zodiac Killer News Report. Why do you call it the news report? And that was something that I decided to do back in 2022, because I made a lot of different types of episodes. And one of them was the AMA, the Ask Me Anything. And I used to do Zodiac Killer Q&A sessions, but Q&As and AMAs have to come from your comments, right? You guys are the ones either asking the question or making the comment, and I respond to them. All right, hello, everybody. It's time for the AMA on Wednesday. This is the day when we go through the questions and comments together, and we have a discussion. I would say something like that, except not like a circus clown, more like a just kind of like the way I'm talking now, but in a lower, more whispery voice for some reason. And I began to think, I think that these types of episodes where I talk about many different stories within a single episode are much better. I think they're better when I record them. I think they're better when I listen to them. I just think that they're better presentations. But they're not Q&A sessions if it's things that I choose that aren't from the comments section. So I just put the name on it, Zodiac Killer News Report. Sometimes it's news, sometimes it isn't. I'm fully aware of that. And it's just a name. And I think a lot of people understand that now, especially when I would put the quick reference up there and they can see that, oh, he's just talking about these different parts of the Zodiac Killer mystery and things that could possibly be related and things that are just like a little bit kind of touching on the true crime things that have been related. I've just talked about like other movies and such on the Zodiac Killer News Report that are loosely connected. Or how about when I did the book discussions on Homicide, The View from Inside the Yellow Tape, talking about different murder stories and doing comparing and contrasting anything that can be connected to that discussion. Then in 2019, I started a segment on Black Box Online Radio called Serial Killer Talk Radio. For the same reason, I did the daily YouTube segment, and I just began to think, I wanted to do an episode that was just a general discussion about serial killers. But of course, I'm not going to call it a general discussion about serial killers. Maybe you can only get away with that if you're famous. So I just decided to call it Serial Killer Talk Radio, which is kind of a running monologue about serial killers and true crime. And then in 2021, I decided to think, well, what if I do an episode that isn't only focused on serial killers, because there are other true crime stories out there. Even D.B. Cooper would fall into true crime, but not a serial killer. So I just decided to call it True Crime Talk Radio. And somebody also asked me, well, why do you call it Black Box Online Radio if you're not a real radio station? Why do you call it True Crime Talk Radio if you're not a real radio station? Or the show isn't actually on the radio. The reason why it has that name is many of you will know that when I started this channel back in 2017, there was literally just a black box on the screen. And I chose the name Black Box Online Radio because I wanted people to anticipate and expect that they were only going to be looking at a black box and just to listen to the running narrative. Would I do that again? No, absolutely not. I mean, I might do that in 2006. Would I do it in 2017? No, I wouldn't. And I would just do something more like this, something more like a True Crime Talk Radio in the morning. And Plate C is here, who says, hello, I enjoy many hours of BBOR content. Hey, Plate C, thank you so much. I appreciate all the comments that you leave on BBOR. And Andrew WVA says, I remember attending the Golden State Killer presentation at CrimeCon in 2017, thinking there was no way he would ever be caught. Oh, Andrew, yes. I've had a lot of similar experiences. How about the Long Island serial killer mystery? Sometimes I sit back and I still think, well, did they catch the Long Island serial killer? Is his name Rex Heuermann? Was he an architect that was living in New York? Or was it somebody completely different? Because the Long Island serial killer did not necessarily have a Golden State Killer ending. In 2023, I woke up one day and I received a message from Batman 66, among other people, saying, hey, look, there's been an arrest in the Long Island serial killer mystery. And I'm like, they caught the guy, right? Wrong. He was only charged with 3 of the murders that were part of what are known as the Gilgo 4, the final 4 murders of the Long Island serial killer mystery. And anybody who follows that case knows that there was a debate and divide, and people were like, this looks like 2 separate killers because the crimes are committed in completely different ways. The early victims were mutilated and dismembered, and the final 4 victims were only strangled and their bodies were discarded. So I was like, well, did he do all of them? And for a year, he was only charged with the murders of the Gilgo 4. Eventually, he was charged with the 4th murder, the murder of Maureen Brainerd Barnes. Now it seems like, yeah, he was the Long Island serial killer completely, starting as early as 1993 with the murder of Sandra Castillo. And then he's going to be indicted for the murder of Jessica Taylor in 2003. And she was one of the victims who was mutilated. It really seems like he's the guy. It didn't have the same impact as the Golden State Killer mystery, but yeah, I had those moments when I'm like, I don't think this case is ever going to be solved. the Zodiac killer mystery as well. Because I've been talking about Jack the Ripper a lot on True Crime Talk Radio and BBOR, like Ripper Wednesday, I think it's affected my perspective on the Zodiac killer mystery. Because the Jack the Ripper case was never solved. Even what's it been, 124 years, 134 years? And Richard Grinnell asked me that question. Richard Grinnell of ZodiacCiphers.com once asked me that. Do you think that the Zodiac killer mystery will be solved, or will it turn into a cold case like Jack the Ripper, where it's never going to be acceptable? Even Richard Jones, who has followed the case for 42 years, says we're never going to know the truth. He still keeps following it, still keeps doing research, but just says we're never going to know the truth. Is the Zodiac killer going to get there? And over the last maybe 4 or 5 days, when I just sit there drinking my morning coffee, I think, yeah, I think that maybe it's going to get to that point. There's still time. I hope not. I hope not, for the sake of the victims and their families, because the Jack the Ripper case is so saddening. Because I was just reading the book, The London of Jack the Ripper, and I have a 2-part book discussion about it, which I did for Ripper Wednesday, and it's like, people were murdered by Jack the Ripper. They never got justice. The killer was never even named. He got away with it. With the Zodiac killer case, I hope that doesn't happen. Angela Fernandez Blevins is here. Angela, hello, how's it going? Angela is the webmaster of ZodiacKillerX.com, by the way. And with the Zodiac killer case, I just hope that that doesn't happen. Julian says, I always thought it would be solved, but maybe I'm just being too optimistic. No, I don't think you're being too optimistic. They're making all types of advancements in forensic sciences, and I'm still hoping that they'll be able to extract DNA from maybe a tenth of a nanogram or something on the letters, things that they weren't able to extract before, and that they'll be putting all of the DNA profiles together, and then they'll find out, okay, well, this is who the Zodiac was, and there will be an enormous breaking news story, and there will be no doubts in anybody's mind. Remember when Dave Ornchak and the guys solved the 340 cipher? Remember how everybody just accepted it and was like, you know what? This is the truth. This isn't something where it's just somebody's wild theory. Compare that to the case breakers in 2021 when they said that they had solved the Zodiac killer mystery, and everybody's like, well, did they actually solve the Zodiac killer mystery? Not on the same page at all. Look at the Long Island serial killer case. We didn't know all of the crimes that the guy committed, but he was charged with 3 of them from the get-go. I shouldn't say get-go because he was the Gilgo Beach killer, but I mean, you can tell when it's a real news story or a fake news story. And Joey is here. Hello, Joey. How's it going? He says that's a possibility. I mean, it is. It is, though, but I really do hope the Zodiac case is solved, for the sake of the victims, their family members, and, there's still going to be somebody's aunt and uncle. And I remember I was reading about that on a forum once when somebody was saying that she was the niece of Shelley Holmboe, who died in 1969, a possible Zodiac killer victim, and she said that, oh, yeah, she would have been my aunt. Their descendants are still just like right here and right now. Julian says on Tom's channel, he claimed that they had a profile, but it was someone that couldn't be the Zodiac, maybe an accomplice potentially. Now, I don't know anything about that person, who he or she was. When I was listening to an episode of the Zodcast, which is hosted by Drew Beeson, he stated that it was a woman's DNA. Now, I haven't confirmed his source. I have no idea if that's true or not. But what Tom Voight wrote out in that post was that the first full DNA profile of someone has been created from DNA that was on the Zodiac letters. The bad news is it's somebody who couldn't possibly have been the Zodiac killer. What does that mean? And, it could have been a woman, as Drew said, or maybe like an African-American, or maybe somebody who was 5 years old at the time or something like that. And research turned into more research, according to Voight. Okay, now, in defense of that, research turned into more research. I am at the point where I think the more I know about the Zodiac killer mystery, the less that I know about the Zodiac killer mystery. And I think that that is something that a lot of people don't really experience, because what I have noticed is some people look at these true crime cases and they come up with a theory rather quickly, even if it's in 1 year or 2 years, that's still rather quickly. And what they do is they attach themselves to that and they just think, I solved the Zodiac killer mystery. I solved the Jack the Ripper mystery. I solved the DB Cooper mystery. But they don't back down from their theory when they're faced with contradictory evidence. I actually had a Zodiac killer theory 2 years into it, and I was just looking at, the Zodiac killer mystery, and I was thinking, I think this was a team of at least 5 people, or I should say at least 4 people. One person was the central planning mind, but he could have also have been the killer. And I was imagining like 4 or 5 guys sitting around the table in what would be called a thrill kill club. Each person commits a murder and they try to make it look like the same person, and one person's writing the letters because of all the differences. Absolutely not. I don't stand by that now. But not everybody backs down from that when they are learning more evidence. What they do is they take the evidence and then they reshape it to fit their particular theory. And this stuff is a little bit difficult to talk about. And I'm sure some people don't even want to hear it. But this is True Crime Talk Radio in the morning. Hello, AC. How's it going? Cheers from Germany. Hey, cheers to you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Some people are going to be looking at true crime stories for a different reason, and they're not doing it because they actually want to solve the murder mystery or solve the mystery, like perhaps in the case of DB Cooper. What they're trying to do is just get respect. That's what they want. They want respect. Some people are doing it for entertainment, like they just want to be mentioned in discussions. They want to look at different true crime theories. Oh, here's my idea. Here's my take on the subject. And they're just having fun and playing around and ignoring the facts. And other people are only doing this because they see somebody else getting notoriety and recognition in the true crime world, and they want the same. And it's not only about formulating a true crime theory and wanting everybody in America to know that it's their theory. It goes into all aspects of their lives. And I've dealt with a handful of them who have, followed the Zodiac case and other true crime cases. And it's almost as if, not naming any names, but some people would come up with far, far out and outlandish theories. And the way that they present them is almost as if they just want people to take them seriously. They want people to listen to them. And as I said, respect. They want people to think that they are an important person who deserves a lot amount of praise, accolades, and just they need people to be obedient toward them. And I think that that's just very saddening because that means it has nothing to do with the facts. That means it has nothing to do with the truth. What kind of true crime follower are you if you're just going to say that you're just doing it for your own self-serving reason? And you just want people to like you, and you want people to like your ideas, and you want people to do what you say and follow you. I wish we weren't ending on that sour note, but we're going to be winding down this episode of True Crime Talk Radio in the morning. If you are joining late, I want to let you know that True Crime Talk Radio in the morning will be coming to you in the near future on Tuesdays and Thursdays, doing these live streams here on Black Box Online Radio. And you can also stay tuned for the regular lineup, Zodiac Monday, Ripper Wednesday, and Cooper Friday. And there are going to be a lot of ways that you can support the channel. One of them is hitting the like button and subscribe. It really helps out. And you can also visit BuyMeACoffee.com, BuyMeACoffee.com/BlackBoxNet88. That allows you to make a donation or contribution to help support the show. And anybody who makes a donation will get a shout out on Zodiac Monday. And some of you are familiar with the White Horse Killer saga. Now, I wrote 3 stories in this fiction-based saga called the White Horse Killer Saga. The first one's Killer on a White Horse, the Barry Albert tapes, and White Horse Strong. I'm going to be beginning the 4th one very soon, and that's again going to be a YouTube exclusive. The books are not even for sale on Amazon anymore because I found that there were just too many imperfections with them, so I decided to put them out on YouTube for free with fewer imperfections. So please stay tuned for the next installment in the White Horse Killer saga, which is based on the Zodiac Manson connection, but it is purely fictional. And I'm just having a good time writing and creating that. I know the whole story, got the whole book mapped out up here. And right now, I'm just going to turn it over to you guys. Do you have any final things you would like to share for True Crime Talk Radio in the morning? Any final things that you would like to say about any of the true crime cases or developments for the channel? And again, this was the Black Box Online Radio State of the Union address where I was talking to you about some updates. Joey's from South Louisiana. Okay, and I don't know if you want to give away the city or the town or anything, but I guess I'll just I'll let you have your privacy there. Yes, but hello and welcome. Always coming to you from West Virginia at heart. Gotta love the South, and then the United States. The South will rise again. Although my part of West Virginia maybe falls into the category of what is known as a border state. I absolutely do not like that term. Like, I don't want to be a border state. I want to be either in the North or the South. Maybe I'd settle for the East or the West, but no, I do miss West Virginia a lot. And Joey's outside of Baton Rouge. Doesn't mind saying. Excellent. No, I really do miss West Virginia, and I talked about this once, like about just going outside and doing some videos with the camera and such. And I did the Ned in West Virginia vlogs earlier this year. Those were done just with my own photos, and it's like me narrating it like a normal episode of Black Box Online Radio. And if I'm ever back in West Virginia, I'll do some more of those because I can go anywhere in the world, right? For a very long time, I was a globetrotter, just visiting different parts of the world. Yet, some of my top destinations are where? In West Virginia, because I haven't seen the whole state yet. You know, as Stephen Wright, the comedian, once said, it's a small world, but I wouldn't want to paint it. Yeah, there's just so much ground to cover. Joey says, is there a police report for the drug bust at Lake Herman Road? Ah, yes, and the person who is going through all of that stuff is named Eddie McNamara. He's been a guest on this program previously, and Eddie says that he is on the verge of making some new discoveries about the Lake Herman Road murders and things that are associated with not only the drug bust, but also with other criminals that were in the area. Libius is here, who says the connection between the Zodiac and Manson is that Lake Berryessa was an attack that was inspired by the Manson murders, tying the victims in the hood and using a knife. Ah, yes, and the Zodiac Manson Connection is a book that was written by Howard Davis, and he claims that he found that the authorities, found an executioner's hood in Bruce Davis's possessions. Bruce Davis is the name of his suspect, no relation, and that he believes that multiple members of the Manson family were responsible for the murders, but Charles Manson was the mastermind of that. And Libya says the Zodiac wanted to take credit for the Tate murders before Manson's group was arrested. Oh, if he could have gotten away with that, sure, the Zodiac was a terrible liar. But we are approaching the 1 hour mark now, so I'm going to be signing off and just say thank you so much for listening to BBOR, and I will be catching you on future episodes of True Crime Talk Radio in the morning. Maybe not coming out immediately next Tuesday, but over the summer, there will be the start of regular episodes on Tuesday and Wednesday, live streams like this. You might be seeing a different background, maybe not wearing the tie every time, but anyway, thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to talking to you guys about DB Cooper over on Cooper Friday. All right, until next time.